All right, hello and welcome to our latest edition of Divorcing Dilemmas. If you are new to this, I'm Amanda Porter. I'm a family law attorney in Minnesota. And this month we have with us Julie Court. Julie, welcome.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for being on here. So Julie Court is a transformation coach and is the author of a fabulous book called The Incredible Life Makeover that focuses on overcoming trauma in your life, including divorce. And so that's one of the reasons I wanted her to talk to us this month is because, at some point the divorce is going to be done. My role is going to be done, but everybody who's gotten divorced needs to keep on living their life and hopefully moving past the divorce and not letting it ruin the rest of their life. So part of what she does is help women get past that or give them the tools to help get past that. And so that's what we want to talk about. So thank you so much for being here, Julie.
Oh, it's a privilege to be on with you today. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. So what we're talking about today is forgiveness. And I know that's kind of something that's probably not going to sound ideal, especially if somebody's just thinking about going through divorce. But why have you found the forgiveness aspect to be so important?
Well, I think that when we are in a divorce, what happens is we get this trauma, and what happens is it actually traumatizes our brain, it traumatizes our heart, and we end up having responses that we don't want, that aren't for our welfare. We're definitely not adding to our future possibility of being happy, and maybe interacting with that other person may affecting our relationship with our children, with our jobs. And so I found that forgiveness was a tool in order to protect my mind, to protect my heart, to protect my responses so that I could have the best response for my future prosperity and well-being as possible.
Yeah, great. Thank you. And so for those viewing, so you've actually been through a divorce and put this into practice, haven't you?
Actually, this chapter in my book called Pass the Test was written after I was 4/5 of the way done with my book. And people who began to see how I was processing my divorce and why my total life didn't go into a total chaos, and I didn't get bitter, and I wasn't overcome, and I didn't go to the bars and look for comfort in all of these, places that would have got added even more trauma. Was I decided from the very beginning to walk in a covering of forgiveness over my mind, my heart, and my response. And that's not easy.
No, well, I mean, and that's the perfect segue too, right? So I think a lot of people do have a basic understanding that it's better to try to forgive, and that, harboring the anger hurts yourself more than the other person. That's kind of out there in pop culture. But that's easier said than done, right? Especially when it's someone who has wronged you possibly in very serious ways, somebody, you thought you were going to be with for the rest of your life. How do you forgive somebody? I mean, sometimes you've got people who were cheating. You've got people who surprise someone with a divorce out of nowhere, abuse. There's so many things that can be going wrong. How do you even begin to forgive somebody?
Well, and I'm sorry that your clients are going through this. And it's my goal to equip them with the skill set of 3 interlocking steps of forgiveness. Mm-hmm. The first step is choosing to forgive because it's better for you and it's better for your future as an act of your will. That you don't be a slave to those emotions that you have on the inside, but you can just say to yourself, like I would lay in bed at night and say, I choose to forgive him as an act of my will because I don't want to be in prison.
Yeah.
But then that's step 1. But it's the second step where we really begin to be able to be free. And this is what we don't necessarily teach people, because we have all of this resentment. We have this spirit of rejection. We have anger. We have wanting to get them back. We have like all these temptations for irrational things that we never would have done. But now we're seriously like thinking we're going to do them.
Yep.
And I always say respond how you want to respond, not react how the other person is like the temptation to react. And so the second step is actually saying and living each day, I release off the bitterness, the resentment, the anger, the sense of devaluing. I cut that off of myself. I will not cooperate with it. I will not partner with that. It is not who I am. And I actually went further and said, and I reject the spirit of trauma that is trying to come over me and change who I am and change my responses. And so what happens is I didn't want to turn into a bitter, angry person and lose 5 years, 10 years of my life, marry the wrong person. Like, there's tons of bad things that can happen when we don't control that negative thing that happens on the inside when we're hurt.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I completely agree. I've seen it so many times when we're working with clients. You need to go back, the ones who are able, and it's not easy, like you said, and it's a process, right? You're not going to just snap your fingers and no, I'm totally over it. Those who are able to put it aside and forgive, they're at so much more peace in their life and they're so much happier, which is I think where everybody wants to get. I mean, I would imagine most people want to be happy after the fact and not prison as you described it. Yeah.
It's kind of hard. It's kind of hard but I chose to do that. And the more I did it, the more successful I was, because when you're not actively trying to reject it, it gets in there so slyly and it starts to color what you see, in the world, not only just in this situation. So, and I believe that like when we go through a serious situation like divorce, we can come under the umbrella of that spirit of trauma, but by actually forgiving and then releasing off that bitterness, we can come out from under that and operate from a different umbrella. And I like to think of that as the umbrella of God's love. And then I actually chose to come up even higher. And I'm like, you are not going to control what I do and who I am. And so I just chose to, and it kind of made me like a sense of joy was, if that person, is off doing things that maybe are hurtful or out of control, I just prayed for them. I said, Lord, just bless them with your kingdom, with your love, with your grace, help them on their journey. And I release them. I release all that off of me. You bless them. And then I'm going to live underneath your atmosphere too. And what it is it let me go up as high as I wanted, because that spirit of trauma, I didn't stay underneath it.
No, that's the goal, right? Not to drag them down to your level, but to let go and be able to live your life and live it as fully and happily as possible. Yeah.
Well, and I love what you mentioned there. It's so important that I get to determine my response and they don't.
Yes.
I just determine, with this 3 steps of forgiveness. It's available in my book, The Incredible Life Makeover. I have podcasts on my website, newlifefortoday.com. And if your audience is overcome with bitterness or just brokenness, and they know they need to get this forgiveness worked out in their own life, I do transformation coaching to help people to implement this this concept could be one thing that we could work on together. Because when you have a free heart, then you can walk forward through that divorce. Yeah. And you can choose wise responses, get wise advice from your lawyer, wise advice from people in your life, and you're going to be able to hear them. When we're under that spirit of trauma and anger or bitterness or wanting to get them back, revenge, or totally withdrawing into isolation, we aren't going to traverse divorce well.
Exactly.
And
yeah.
My goal is for anyone who's experienced one of the top 10 stress is that they'd incorporate forgiveness.
Yeah, that's great. That's so great. So like as Julie mentioned, she does go into more detail on these steps in her book. She's also, as a transformation coach, happy to help people work through that because it is hard. So if you need a little bit of extra help, and then you also have a video course on this. Is that correct?
Yes, I have a video course available for people.
Okay, great. So if you are listening to this and you want any more information about these steps or about any of those things that we just mentioned, depending on which form you're in, her contact information is either below the video or to the side. So go ahead and click on that link and check her out. And we hope that you found this helpful and that you can start forgiving and moving on in a more positive direction with your divorce. So thank you so much for being here today, Julie.
Oh, you're welcome. And I just hope that your viewers can make it through their divorces with as least pain as possible and to just ease their journey through it quickly too.
That's my hope too. All right. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.